Hi, this is Christy with Healthy Vibes with Christy. Today, we're going to dive right in and talk about how to mimic Ozempic naturally. So there's a lot of good information. Stick around, and at the end I'll go over what a day looks like eating to mimic Ozempic. So, what is Ozempic and Wegovy, all those drugs that are in the craze right now? I have few friends, few coworkers on them. So it's a semaglutide, and it mimics. It's a GLP-1 receptor agonist, is what they call it. So this GLP-1 is a hormone that is activated when we eat naturally. There's certain types of foods that activate it more. And they do believe that some people, it's not activating the way it should. Obviously, when this was originally made for people with diabetes. So if you have insulin resistance and the like, then you're going to have less GLP-1 being activated. So when GLP-1 is activated, what happens is it goes to the brain and tells you you're full. It slows down emptying of your stomach, the contents in your stomach, and it also increases insulin from the pancreas. So insulin's another hormone that when there's glucose in the blood, insulin gets that glucose to be stored in your liver and your muscles. So it doesn't raise that blood glucose. So it's very important. So, um, so, so that's basically what GLP-1 does, the action of it. So it also causes a decrease in appetite and a lower spike of glucose, which we talked about because it's stored in the liver and the muscles because of that insulin being activated. And there's less cravings for sugar and fat. So with these drugs, there are side effects. You may have heard of a few. Nausea is a big one. Stomach pains, constipation, and diarrhea and vomiting are fairly common. Also, rare side effects: pancreatitis, gallstones, and kidney failure. So there's some serious side effects that can be with these drugs, as most drugs have side effects because it's not the natural body doing what it's supposed to be doing. So studies do show that people on Ozempic eat about 25% less. They also showed they had about 15 to 20% weight loss, which is pretty significant. So if you're 180 pounds, that's roughly 25 to 35 pounds of weight loss, which sounds great. Unfortunately, about a third of that is muscle mass. So muscle mass helps keep your metabolism up, also has those receptors for the glucose to attach. So it's very important. And if you ever go off of this medicine, with your muscle mass being lower, you're going to have to eat lower to maintain where you are because your metabolism has tanked. So it's really not a good situation. So what happens, most studies are showing when people go off that first year, they're going to gain back probably 2/3. Some people gain back all of it and then some, just because your metabolism's lower, you're not having that decreased in appetite, and you're going to gain it back if you haven't changed your lifestyle. This is actually has a term for it. It's called Ozempic rebound. So changing your lifestyle and not returning to your previous eating habits is the key. So There's also some people, studies showing people that are resistant to these drugs. And the initial studies are thinking that it's from gut dysbiosis. What does that mean? It means the gut doesn't have the right type of bacteria. So these drugs aren't working on certain people. So what can we do naturally? You ready? This is exciting because there's a lot that you can do naturally to stimulate that GLP-1. So microbes, let's talk about that first thing. Butyrate increases GLP-1. Butyrate is a microbe in the gut. It is made from Akkermansia, another microbe. And Akkermansia is very important, lives in the mucus lining. And if you're low in Akkermansia, then you're low in butyrate, and then you're not stimulating that GLP-1. So there's many ways to increase this with foods. There's also a great company, I'll put the link below, that has live cultures of Akkermansia, and you can buy it and get on it. And if you change your lifestyle and feed what you need to keep this cultures up, then you don't have to be on this probiotic long term. I actually had testing done and my Akkermansia was low. Another interesting fact about Akkermansia is people going through cancer treatment, the immune therapy, about 20% of patients do really well with this. They researched why this 20% does well and the other people don't. And it came down to this one bacteria, Akkermansia. So now they can test the stool, see if they're low in it, increase it before they start the study. It's pretty amazing. There's also different bacteria in the guts that they found one that was related to Parkinson's. So Dr. William Lee, if you ever listen to him, he's amazing. Go to his YouTube channel. He's got some great books and he discusses it in depth. So Akkermansia, how do we increase that? So it's found in polyphenols. So think pomegranate, cranberries, berries, green tea, dark chocolate, fresh herbs, and fermented foods all will increase and feed Akkermansia, which will then make the butyrate. So butyrate is found abundantly in skinny people. So we want that is like the number one microbe we really need to focus on. So another natural way is a sugar substitute called allulose, and that has been shown to increase GLP-1. It's made from raisins and figs, and you can find it, I think, in pretty much any store now, definitely like the Whole Foods and things like that. So being a sugar substitute, like most sugar substitute, be careful, too much will cause nausea, bloating, and sometimes diarrhea. So you got to be a little careful. Another thing to add to your diet is anti-inflammatory, the unsaturated long-chain fatty acids. So think about nuts and seeds, avocados, olive oil. All these are anti-inflammatory, the long-chain fatty acids. So a study shows Mediterranean diet, people were on it for 28 days, and GLP-1 was significantly higher after each meal because all these are incorporated in that diet. And there's other diets that do well but the anti-inflammatory with unsaturated long-chain fatty acids. Okay. So high protein, about 30% of your meal compared to 10%, it increased the GLP-1. So obviously if your animal if you eat animal products, then that's easy. Steak, chicken, pork, eggs, plain yogurt. If you're vegetarian, legumes and beans, tofu, soy products, those things will get that protein up per meal. You want about 30 grams per meal. Certain spices that you can add to your meal. So turmeric and curcumin, rosemary, cinnamon, these all are shown to increase your GLP-1. Herb like berberine, some people call berberine the natural Ozempic. They have different ways they work in the body, but studies do show that berberine is helping the GLP-1. Bitter foods. So when you make a salad, throw in radicchio and arugula, kale, all these bitter foods, that dandelion greens. So don't just have romaine or iceberg, make a nice spring mix. And finally, there's studies showing that the percentage of weight loss compared to a certain diet and people on Ozempic, they were both on, one group was on Ozempic for 6 months, the other group was on a whole plant-based diet, high fiber, whole plant-based diet for 6 months. The Ozempic people lost about 11% body reduction, and the whole plant-based diet had 13%. So very comparable. Whole plant-based won out with no side effects. So when we think about whole plant-based and high fiber, we want whole grains, root vegetables, tubers, the carrots and radishes and beets, parsnips, legumes, artichokes, sweet potatoes, oats and brown rice and beans, quinoa, lentils, green bananas. And that has that resistant starch, which helps feed those good bacteria we talked about earlier. So, and finally, another thing that's free, and we tend not to do it, we need to be doing it, is chewing your food longer. Studies show that when you chew your food longer, it does increase your GLP-1. So slow down. We're always in a rush, and really be grateful for your food, and take deep breaths before you start eating. Taking deep breaths gets your digestion ready. It stimulates the parasympathetic, which is your rest and digest. So I like 4, 7, 8. So I inhale for 4, hold for 7, and exhale for 8. And do that a few times before you eat. Make sure you're chewing your food. Make sure you have your high protein, your fiber, lots of plants, and maybe sprinkle some herbs that turmeric or even cinnamon. Have some green tea with allulose, and all these things will help stimulate. And it's no side effects. So it's exciting that we can do all these, and start slow if you're not used to having a lot of fiber in your diet. Start slow, increasing everything, and before you know it, you'll be losing your weight that you want to. Those of you who are on Ozempic or Wegovy or any of those other ones, please keep in mind about the muscle loss. Definitely do the high protein and weight resistance to offset that. So that's about it. If you want to look at some meals that would incorporate all these things. So for breakfast, if you had like 2 eggs, avocado, a couple slices of bacon, and I like Ezekiel bread because it's from sprouted grains, and it has 5 grams of protein per slice. So all that would equal a around 30 grams. Lunch, mixed greens with those bitter greens that I had talked about mixed in there. You can have, if depending on if you eat meat, you can have chicken, about 4 ounces is about 20 grams, or mixed sprouts is about 13 grams, or mixed beans, about 18 grams, some sunflowers and pumpkin seeds in that salad. And that would get you to about 30 grams. If you're going the mixed sprouts, you might have to add a few more nuts and seeds in there to get your protein up to 30. Dinner, if you had a 6-ounce steak, that right there's 40, but you want maybe some root vegetables with some olive oil, of course, garlic and onions, if you had some asparagus, sweet potato, all that together would give you over 30 grams, and have all those other things that you need to increase the GLP-1. All right. I hope you found this helpful. And if you did, go ahead and like. And if you want to subscribe, I'll be putting out videos pretty often, and share if you think there's someone you know that would like this information too. So I'll talk to you soon. Bye now.